everybody, it's Jean here, Jean Truelove from Truelove Quilts for You. This is Jean's Block Party 2019. I'll get right to our block number 42. I do have a few stories, so if you want to skip my stories and go right to the tutorial, you can. I have a few stories because we've had a week of it, my goodness. But I'm going to get to our block number 42 straight away. Look what it is. A Dresden plate. Now, don't worry, I have shown you in this part one video of two parts how to make the actual pattern for our Dresden plate, because I know some of you or most of you will not have purchased or bought, which is fine, the like a plastic template Dresden plate ruler template. So I show you how to make this little Dresden plate ruler with the math and showing you how to make the little pattern and then transpose it onto cardboard. I have used 20 different fabrics, my whites and reds and my tans and maroons all the way around for the little blades, and then a lovely burgundy in the center. I've also used a fusible interfacing on the back, a very lightweight fusible interfacing, just to add a little bit more substantial of fabric to the foundation to applique our Dresden plate on. I have used a blanket stitch, which I had to change my machine to Malia's little machine instead of my Juki. But if you don't have a blanket stitch, you can by all means just stitch it carefully around the points of the blade with a straight stitch, and I don't know, somehow do that. Maybe even hand stitch it. I don't know. You can hand stitch the whole thing. I don't know. I like a blanket stitch. I'll see applique stuff. Yeah. So you might, whatever. You can figure it out, because you guys are not beginners anymore, are you? Oh, and if you are just tuning in, this is block number 42. We have spent 6 months making 41 other blocks. There's 42 blocks, 6 across, 7 down. And then in the following videos, we're going to be putting the blocks together into our quilt. I've done a red and white quilt, blah, 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 as you know. So, so this is our block number 42. Hope you love it. Part 1 and part 2 to follow. But I've had a week of it. Oh my goodness, folks, my goodness. Let me see, starting last Sunday, not a day or so ago, but last Sunday, I'm upstairs in our bedroom. It was around 10 o'clock in the morning, and I hear this almighty crash. I'm like, what? We have a road a couple homes away that is fairly busy, and sometimes there's car crashes. But I'm thinking, oh, that sounded a little bit too close to home. So I ran downstairs. My husband likes watching the Tour de France, and he was quite loud. He's on the sofa, and I'm like, did you hear that crash? And he's like, no, I didn't. I'm like, oh, are you deaf? Like, it was really loud. Anyway, he's like, oh, is Maxwell okay? As you know, Maxwell is autistic, has seizures, and I'm like, ugh. So I ran upstairs. He's sound asleep. I'm like, I burst in his room like, are you okay? He's like, yeah, I was asleep. I said, oh, sorry, darling. And I'm like, well, I don't know what that crash was, but man, wow. Chalk it up to a car crash outside. Whoa, that was, woof. So anyway, that was Sunday. Monday, I said to Maxwell, could you please go out and cut the grass? Which he's such a good boy. Goes down to the shed. He comes running up all wide-eyed. He's like, Mom, come here. Here, our neighbor's very large tree split in two. It was a beautiful, sunny, perfectly no-wind day on Sunday. That was the crash. The tree split in two, and the whole thing fell onto our shed and our pergola. And I couldn't see it because we have a ton of greenery out there. I didn't know our tree was taking out our shed. So that was a week ago. So we notified our neighbor, and this tree is still there. Like, to have him remove it off our property, that's another story. Anyway, we got the tree off. But that was like, oh, that was the crash. Whatever. We'll get the tree off eventually. And it took out our lights that we strung up. We had real pretty lights. I'm like, oh, whatever. Life, if life can go wrong, it will. But never mind. You got to keep smiling. So that was on Monday. And then on Tuesday, my husband, Ian, has had a small lump on his arm. I think it was like a fatty lipoma. You know, those benign, it's a benign like tumor. Well, the last like 2 months, it's like the size of an orange. And I'm like, whoa, mate, you got to get that thing off. So you have to understand, my husband doesn't go to a doctor. He's 71 years old. He'll be 72. Doesn't go to a doctor. He's as fit as anything. He takes no medication. He's up ladders. He's unbelievable. He's the doctor. So he went to the doctor, and the doctor said, oh, before your surgery, my husband was freaking out quietly. He was very frightened. Oh, dear man. He said, take 2 extra strength Tylenol. And Ian's like, oh, I don't want to take drugs. I said, Ian, it's for pain. It's not a drug. He's like, I don't take those things. So anyway, I'm like, you take 2 extra strength Tylenol. So he was like, oh my word. Like, he's just so funny. Anyway, he got it taken off. It's general surgery. I'm like, why couldn't they do a local? That was weird. Anyway, there's big stitches and everything. He has this compression bandage on. So that was on Tuesday. He was back to work on Wednesday. Anyway, and then on Friday and Saturday and Sunday, as you knew, I had said before, we had a 3-day convention down at the Leah Core Center on Temple campus in Philadelphia. A convention for Jehovah's Witnesses. 3-day. As I was saying to the theme of it is love never fails. Just showing love, how we can show love, Bible principles. I have to show love to my neighbor. It's okay. I have to forgive and show love. It's fine. We need more love and forgiveness in the world. Take your stinking tree off my shed. But anyway, so that was on Friday and Saturday, long day, and then we had planned on going on Sunday. 3 long days, but wonderful, wonderful. Songs and experiences and videos and little talks and symposiums. Wonderful, wonderful. About 5,000 there. The conventions are held all over the country.
She's waiting for love to be realized. I'll send her my heart covered as a gift, and hope that you'll take it into her side. La 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 la.
Lovely. But on Saturday evening, we get a phone call we had heard on Saturday morning at 6 o'clock. Saturday evening, right after the convention, we're coming home, and our son, number four son Dominic, and his wife Sarah, expecting their 3rd baby. She had her little girl. We didn't know what she was having. They don't find out. She had a lovely little girl at 5:30 on Saturday evening, Soleil Alexandra.
She's waiting for love to be realized. I'll send her my heart covered as a gift, and hope that you'll take it in
Soleil Alexandra. And we said, what a cool name. Dominic and Sarah and his wife and their dog, and for the first year, their little boy, they sailed around, not the world, they sailed around the Caribbean and South America on a 48-foot sailboat that they have. And it was manufactured by a company, and the model number was the Grand Soleil, meaning the glorious sunshine. So we have a little baby girl, Soleil Alexandra. Dominic's middle name is Alexander. So Soleil Alexandra, 7 pounds, 15 ounces. Born at home with a midwife, as we do. Everything was fine. Hard for Sarah, but she's a trooper. And I'll put some pictures up. That was Saturday. So we had a tree fall. We had surgery. We had our convention. We had our new baby. So on Sunday, we went and spent just a few hours meeting baby granddaughter. That's our 15th grandbaby. We have 8 granddaughters and 7 grandsons. And then we just found out that our 6th son, Jean-Pierre, and his wife, Caitlin, they're expecting a baby in January. These kids keep coming. That'll be number 16. So yeah, they're excited. That's their first. So Dom and Sarah's, that's their third. They have Striker, who is 3.5, Cosette, who is 1.5, and now Soleil, who's beautiful, black curly hair. It's funny. And her sister Cosette has white blonde hair. She'll turn blonde. Anyway, that was my week. I'm waffling on. This is part 1 of our Dresden plate. I hope you love it. Block number 42. You can follow the instructions and make your own little Dresden plate. Thank you for listening to my stories. If you don't want to listen to my stories, go away. I'll put some pictures up of my stories of my week. It's been an eventful week. Anyway, I hope you love it. This is block number 42. Part 2 of this block is to follow. Okay, I hope you love it, folks, and then we'll get on to finishing our quilt sashing and cornerstones and putting our quilt together. All right, thank you for following. See you later. Bye. So here we are to make our Dresden plate template for now. Most of you probably, if you're beginners, will not have this Dresden plate ruler. If you do, that's awesome. That's fantastic. What this is I'm using this one. It's called a Dresden Easy Quilting, www.simplicity.com. Dresden ruler by Darlene Zimmerman. Okay, this is an 8-inch Dresden plate ruler plastic template. You probably won't have that. So as I said in the beginning, I'm going to show you exactly how you're going to make, just for this one-off, one little bit project, we're going to be making a Dresden plate template. We're going to first make it out of paper, and then we're going to transfer it to card, and then you're going to cut your pieces from it, your 20 different pieces from it. So here I am. I'm at my cutting board. I've tried to put my camera down as close as possible to show you what I'm doing. What I have is I've just cut off a little hunk of paper, just a nice piece of paper, just a piece of white copy paper, and the edges I've just cut a little square off, but you have to make sure that at least 2 edges are cut from the manufacturers, okay? So there's my little piece of paper. Now with what we need here is our rotary cutter. What I've done is I've used a piece of card from a fat quarter. You can just use a piece of card if you wish to, and my pen. All right, that's what I'm using to make my little paper template, which I've already made one. We are making let me put it up here. We are making the Dresden plate template. We're making this at 2.5 inches. Okay, so if you were having this ruler, we are cutting this at 2.5 inches. There's my paper template that I'm going to transpose to my cardboard. But I'll show you how we're going to make it. So I have my piece of paper here, and I'm using my lines on my cutting mat precisely, absolutely precisely. And with a small ruler, what I'm going to do is I'm going to cut this. I want to cut a piece of paper. This is going sort of horizontal excuse me, vertical. But I'm just going to line this up very carefully along the side here. It doesn't really matter about the bottom because I'll show you what we're doing. I wanted to be cutting up this piece of paper here, just a small one, exactly 2.5 inches. All right, so this is exactly 2.5 inches. I'm using a rotary cutter. It's fine just for this 1 or 2 pieces of paper cutting. If you want to use an old rotary cutter, by all means. So there's our 2.5 inch piece of paper. Okay, now what I'm doing is I'm turning it. Now this is our template size there. Okay, this is our vertical template. Now with my ruler, I'm going to be marking this at 1 3/4 inches. Okay, there's 1 3/4 inches. It's exactly 2.5 by 1 3/4 inches. And I'm just going to slice that off. Okay, so we have a piece exactly 2.5 by 1 3/4 inches. So now that we have our 2.5 by 1 3/4 inch, what I want you to do is I want you to very carefully fold this piece of paper in half. Fold it right in half and crease it. Crease it a lot. And then open it up. You could measure this, but I find this just as easy. On that crease, you're going to take a pen. You're just going to make a line. All right, that's right in half. Okay, that's right in half. Now, just for demonstration purpose, I hope you can see this. I'm trying to keep the camera real nice and low on my board here. Yeah. So, yeah, let me just put this up here. So I'm at this end of my board. So I'm going to be putting this, say, on my, between 31 and 32. Our purpose here, right here, our purpose is to create this inch bottom on this template here. Okay, but you don't have this template. Else you could just put the middle there and you would just mark it down there, right? So we have to find this diagonal line here. So what I want you to do is I want you to place this line on, we're wanting to have an inch down here. Let me do it between 33 and 34 so you can see that here. So it's not quite, I'm trying to measure it on this line. Here's 2.5 inches, and I'm trying to see, what we're wanting is this line here, my 33 and my 34 inch, right? So now what I'm finding is if I measure it, if I measure this, I'm having, let me just see. It's not quite on 3.5. I mean 33.5. Not quite. It's a little bit over. Because I'm wanting to have this piece here from my 33 from here to here the same as 34 to there. So it's a little bit, as you can see, this is a little bit over my inches here between 33 and 34. So this is not quite 33.5. It's just slightly, just one little tiny mark above 33.5. So I have the exact same amount here to here. Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hold that. I'm going to go to my top edge here, put my ruler, and I'm going to hold this piece of paper and just very, very carefully, there's my line right there, okay? My ruler is nice and taut right on that inch line up to my corner, and I'm going to slice that off, okay? Holding it still, I'm going to come back over to my inch line, and I'm going to go right up to that corner there. So I'm going from this corner again up to that corner, making that slice. Now hopefully this end here will match up to 1 inch. There we go. There we go. There is our template. Now let me see. Oh, buy the template, flippin' act. There we go. Look at that. Oh, geez. So there's our 2.5 inch. I don't know, I just saved you 10 bucks, whatever. Make your own template. So anyway, that's how we do it, okay? So there's our little paper template, which is exactly the same size as our thing. But now what you want to do is you want to transpose that onto a piece of card. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to put this down at the bottom, and I'm going to do the exact same thing on my card. I'm just going to make sure, wait a second, I might just trace this line, and then I can get a straighter line, oops, with my ruler. And again, if you were going to be making Dresden plates, by all means, that's a little bit crooked, but you get the idea. So I'm going to be putting it between my 33 and my 34. Take my ruler. Follow that line pretty good. This is on card now, remember. My 33 up to that point. And then over. Keeping that nice and straight. Let me see. Yeah, keeping that nice and straight. I can see my line down here. Whoops, where am I? I can see my line sort of up here. This is nice and straight over here. And there's my line on my template. So here is a cardboard template that is exactly the size of my plastic template. So this is just a little thing that you don't have to buy the template. Just take a few more minutes of doing this. And then what we're going to be doing is from now on, I'm going to be showing you how we're going to be making our Dresden plates. This is obviously, as I told you in the beginning, we're going to be a two-part video because there's just a few steps. Not hard, but now you don't have to buy this. By all means, if you want to, you've made your little pattern, a little cardboard template, and now we're ready to go and cut our fabrics out. So now that we have our little template ready to make our Dresden plate, what I've done is, I think I've shown you in the beginning, I'm storing all of my fabrics and my squares. My squares are here. My squares are in here. My finished squares are in here with my 9.5 inch ruler. This is how I've been storing my squares. I believe that was a handbag, purse, a handbag carrier. So here are my blocks. Here are my blocks, how I've been doing it. My square, my ruler, and then this is how I have been storing my blocks. Blocks 1 all the way down to block 41. There we go, that we did last week. So this is how I'm storing my blocks. I'll put them over here, and this is how I've been storing my fabrics here. Now what I'm going to be doing is, let me just grab a pair of scissors. I have a ton of scraps left over, okay? I've just started. We want 20 different fabrics in this block. Or if you want, you can use 10 different fabrics and then one neutral, and you can use 2 different fabrics and then just alternate. But because I'm doing a scrappy Dresden plate, I want 10 darker fabrics and then 10 lighter fabrics. I'm alternating between dark and light, but because I'm going to be doing 10 dark and light, I'm actually going to change it up. As you know, I've been doing my burgundy and creams and my red and whites. I'm going to grab 5 dark fabrics. Let me see if I have any scraps left. Here's a scrap. I'm just going to cut this off. There's a scrap. Here's a nice scrap here. Can I get my template? Yep, I can do that. So I want 5 of them. I have to iron these. I'm going to iron these. 1, 2, 3, 4. I get 1 more dark burgundy. Got to iron these all up. Just chop that off there. I have my 5 burgundy, and then I'm going to go into my red and whites, and I'm just going to change. I'm just going to have burgundy and red and white in this block. 10 pieces and 10 pieces. Now basically, I'm not going to bore you. I'm going to go over and I'm going to press all of these, and with my template that we've made, I'm just going to try to keep on the straight of the grain. If it's a bit skewed, it's fine, because once we go to sew it together, it'll be fine. But I can pretty much tell where the straight grain is. You don't want to sort of put it like that. You want to just, you know, you can tell how you cut your fabrics. And what I'm going to do is I'm just going to hold this, and I am just going to cut out carefully. I'm just going to cut out with a nice pair of sharp scissors. I'm going to cut out from my template. By all means, if you want to, you can mark it and cut it. But I'm pretty assured that that piece there is the size of my template. So I'm going to continue just cutting out. I'm going to iron all of these, and I'm going to cut out all of my bleeds. So I'm just cutting out my bits, and you can either do it by using scissors. I have a nice pair of sharp scissors, but you can also, if you want, again, make sure you're sort of straight of grain. What I'm also doing is I'm just putting my template down, being careful not to slice off the cardboard, because I have done that. I'm just using my rotary cutter and just turning it around and making my pieces like this. So if you, by all means, if you want to do it this way, you can. If you want to use scissors, you can. But what I'm doing is we're just cutting out. I'm cutting out here my 10 darks, and then I'll go on to my 10 light fabrics. Now that we've cut our pieces out, I've just done 4 piles of 4. I have my sort of whites, my tans, my reds, and my maroons. I'm going to change it up. I'll show you that a little bit later. But what we're going to do now is I'm going to go over to my machine. I'm going to chain piece this little unit here. What I'm going to do is I'm going to fold this in half with the pretty sides together, and I'm going to stitch 1/4 inch right along the top edge there. Okay, I'm going to go over to my machine, and I will chain stitch my 20 little blades, right sides together, on that top edge, 1/4 inch.